Een goede middag. Welkom op deze nieuwe LinkedIn Live, vrijdagmiddag 4 uur. Excuus voor het wat rare tijdstip. Ik wil natuurlijk niet Bart en Lubetto in de wielen rijden om op 4 uur te beginnen. Maar goed, soms krijg je niet altijd de mensen die je zou willen hebben op het juiste tijdstip. En dat betekent dat David Kain nu vandaag om 7 uur 's morgens achter zijn laptop gaat zitten om ons te helpen om de online automotive beter te maken. Dus mijn excuus daarvoor. Maar goed, voor David is het 7 uur, voor Michael is het 1 uur of 10 in de ochtend. Dus ik ben ontzettend blij dat hun er zijn. Voor mijn beeldvorming, wie zijn er allemaal op dit moment in de stream? En kun je even wat zeggen, hallo zeggen, jezelf even kenbaar maken, zodat we ook weten wie we vandaag in de stream hebben en op welke manier we van dienst kunnen zijn. Want daar gaat het uiteindelijk allemaal om. Voor degenen die het leuk vinden, deel het vooral actief, like het vooral actief, zodat we meer mensen daarmee kunnen helpen. Dus de vraag is even, wie zijn er allemaal? Zeg even hallo. In die zin, geef even een like, zodat ik weet wie er zijn en tegen wie ik praat, want dat vind ik eigenlijk wel het allerleukste. Sean, goedemorgen. Goedemorgen is dan voor David. Fijn dat je er bent, Sean. Leonor, fijn dat je er ook bent in deze stream met David, Kain en Michael Cirillo. Rubik, leuk dat je er ook bent. Ik zag ook al wat Belgische vrienden van ons, wat Duitse vrienden van ons. Melvin, goedemorgen aan David en aan Michael. Sebastiaan is er ook. Igor, uiteraard, is er ook van Hyundai. Leuk dat je er ook bent. En dan gaan we zo meteen beginnen. En voor een introductie allemaal. Jean, ook hier, is aanwezig, zie ik. Mike is aanwezig. Een introductie van beide heren. David Kain ken ik eigenlijk al 10 jaar. Ik ga al 10, 11 jaar lang naar de NEDA. Glenn van Zalen, dankjewel dat je er bent. Ga ik naar de NEDA en een van de eerste presentaties die ik daar heb gezien was van David Kain over mijn vakgebied. En mijn vakgebied, de lead-opvolging. En hij zei toen iets van always answering a lead with a question mark. En dat bleef altijd maar een beetje bij me hangen. En dat is ook altijd een van de regels geweest om de online lead-opvolging te gaan doen. Forrest, thank you for being here. En sindsdien hebben we een goede vriendschap opgebouwd. Is David ook 2 keer in Nederland en België geweest om dealers, autobedrijven te helpen. Pieter, leuk dat je er ook bent. En aan de andere kant Michael Cirillo, een Italiaanse naam, maar dan toch Canadees. De host van de grootste podcast van de wereld in automotive gebied. De dealer Playbook. Ook hij is in Nederland geweest. In Den Haag hebben we presentaties gegeven. En beide heren vonden het ook leuk om met jullie dit te gaan doen. Hendrik, ook leuk dat jij er bent. Dus ik haal ze er even bij. En daar heb je ze dan. Gentlemen, very welcome to be here.
Thank you, Paul. It's wonderful to be there. And if travel was this easy and we could be together this quickly, it'd be wonderful all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
No, it's thanks to you both, because we are in other continents, in other countries, and the COVID-19 or the coronavirus or the pandemic makes also one thing very clear, that you don't have to travel that much to be in real contact with real friends, right?
Absolutely.
That's right. And you know what? And what it helps us realize is that you can still have meaningful contact even through the computer screen.
Yeah. Hey, and about an introduction for you both. David, can you introduce yourself for the people who doesn't know you, what you're doing, what your expertise is, and how you can help dealers and independents to make the online automotive better?
Yeah, so Paul, you and I have this commonality. We've been around automotive for several years. My family's been in the business since before I was born. My dad became a Ford dealer, and I was raised in our family business along with my 8 brothers and sisters. So grew up through the operation and left to create Ford Direct in 2000. After 3.5 years, I decided I wanted to start my own training company. So for the last 17 years, I've helped dealers set up internet and BDC operations. And our expertise is in process and communication tactics. We also provide guidance on digital marketing and CRM utilization. So it's something that I'm very passionate about. Paul and I have become really good contemporaries in trading ideas across continents. And I learn every time that I'm with you, Paul. And thank you very much.
No, not the other way around, David. It's the other way around. Huh? And Michael.
Hey.
The best voice in the business.
Oh, I don't know about. Well, you should ask my wife and see what she thinks about the voice sometimes. So our background is one of evolution. When I hear businesses say that they cannot evolve, I say, well, that's not the case. My company started publishing telephone directories. And if you remember, telephone books, my computer monitor has a couple of telephone books under it right now. And we started in that industry, heavy in publishing and marketing. And that company, when we saw that telephone directories would quickly go the way of the tumbleweed, we decided that we would evolve. And that's when we came into the automotive industry. I'd love to say that I woke up one morning as a little boy and said, I'm going to work in the car business, but it was a gentle evolution into the car business. And so we published an automotive magazine. And as we started to see things go digital, we moved heavier into the digital space. And so our specialty on the marketing side is that we are really excited students in consumer behavior. So we love studying what makes consumers move and what makes them find interest in a business. And so what we do is we spend a lot of our time working with our clients, helping them align their business goals, much in the same way that I think David will do. He'll move into a business and help them with their processes to help them. So what we do is we align their business goals with the demands of the market. So eliminating a lot of the guesswork, because I know business, there can be a lot of guesswork. And so we love to just help organizations and help our clients understand how they can make their business goals a reality by just meeting their customers where they're at.
Cool. Hey, and about our statement, our mission is to make the online automotive better. Dealers, independents, OEMs, leasing companies, etc. And we have all our expertise, our own space. But we have all the same pandemic, right? Because we are all in quarantine, lockdown, semi-lockdown, intelligent lockdown, whatever the case will be. So dealers, independents in different countries like Germany, we have watches from Germany, where watches from Belgium have different lockdown than we have in Holland, than maybe in Canada or in America. Michael, in your perspective from marketing, what should dealers now do? Because you can say Google AdWords is a way to communicate to the market, and when there is no competition, it is cheaper. Or do you want to stay down, calm down, and not invest money because the market is not there in such numbers? What should you do?
I think, there is that question. What should I be doing right now? If I am going to advertise, what should I advertise? Can I just keep advertising as normal? And I've kind of seen both sides of it, where there are some dealerships that are like, hey, let's keep moving forward, and away we go. There's less competition. But then there are dealers who are struggling to know, well, how do I deal with this? This is a much more sensitive arena that I've never had to navigate. And so I think the big thing right now is the opportunity that each of us have been given, in my opinion, is that it's caused us to pause for a second and analyze and see what was working and what wasn't working. And for us to really reset and say, hey, we've been given an opportunity here to maybe focus more of our attention on what matters most. And I'm seeing a lot of dealerships doing that. And so if I were to advertise, and by the way, my company, we are still advertising. However, the message has shifted because we need to meet our customers where they're at. And maybe later on in the conversation, I'll share some really crazy things that I've been doing to keep attention for my customer base and for my audience, and that some of my clients are doing that you might scratch your head and say, what does that have to do with selling cars? But it has everything to do with selling cars. And I can share some of those things. Ultimately, I guess the last thing I would just say on this is it's very important for us to understand the customer value journey, the journey that customers actually take from thinking, hey, I need to purchase a vehicle, or I need service for my vehicle, and what that journey actually looks like to the actual transaction and then beyond, right? So paying attention to the customer journey and then shifting our messaging to match the journey is going to be really important right now versus what I think we traditionally do, which is just talk about, we go straight for the ask, straight for the transaction. And I don't think you can really do that in a time like this. And
what's your opinion, David?
Well, so I'm glad you asked, Paul, because every once in a while I do have an opinion, and I'll offer it freely. So much like what Michael's talking about, I think we've got to use this time to really weigh and measure processes, tactics, marketing strategies, and stuff. And what we're finding, and I'm be really curious to learn from Michael and get his opinion on this, but I read recently where experience is the new brand. And to us, fortunately, we've been able to say to our clients that this is your time to shine. We have prepared for several years an experiential relationship with the customer to where we're on their side. And I learned this a long time ago in selling cars is when you go to present the numbers, if you'll go sit next to the customer side by side and you present the numbers in a non-confrontational manner, we're now co-joined. We're navigating this journey together, as opposed to I'm sitting on my side of the desk, you're sitting on your side of the desk, and we're going to hash this out. Fortunately, we're in a position to where if in fact we leverage technology the way we can and should, we can actually do screen share, we can do FaceTime, we can bring all of this community of buyers and sellers together and actually make it a friendlier, less confrontational environment, and the consumers actually kind of find it unique. We've talked to friends who have said, we're using Zoom meetings for family nights. We're playing cards in our family. We do a game night with my son in Colorado, and we live in California. So this kind of communicative relationship, I think, forges a better bond and gives that brand experience, or that experience that we're looking for, so that then if the customer wants us to bring it to them for a demonstration drive, or if they want to come to the dealership, if you have that opportunity, it works out really well. But the voice you use, paying attention, leveraging old tactics of feel, felt, and found really resonate greatly in today's environment. So as I say, our clients, fortunately, were prepared for this, and leveraging those tools of communication and kindness seem to really be paying off.
If you see some of the comments we are getting from LinkedIn, and people ask your questions, please, to Michael and David, because they are A players in the market and are free of charge now, so you can ask any questions now. Sebastian is saying it's not the time to advertise on commercial offers, to be blunt in that offer, still to sensitives, yes. But it is definitely time to build your brand image. More people are online, and advertising is cheaper for the moment. Less competition on keywords, right? And Leonor is saying, and that's also true. I don't know if it is in Canada and America as well, that people don't want to go in trains or public transportations, and that cars can be on a rise after the pandemic, and that we have the demand which is not selling now, but also new demand from people which don't want to go in public transportations as well, right?
Go ahead, Michael.
Sure. Yeah. I think, yes, there is fear. People don't want to use public transit. Some people have to use public transit by necessity. However, I think as human beings, we tend to go to absolute terms really quick. There's a pandemic, so absolutely nobody on the planet is going to buy a car.
Mhm.
However, one of my own employees today is receiving delivery of a brand new Hyundai Sonata that he just had to purchase because his previous lease had expired. And now he was all of a sudden back in the market, and he goes, well, I need a vehicle for necessity. I think what we are going to see of those who still need to purchase is that they're realizing a vehicle is much more about utility than it was luxury. Maybe before they might have selected more luxury options. And by the way, this still blows me away. When I came to Amsterdam and you told me that Teslas over there were more for taxi cabs and not for luxury, where it was complete opposite. And that still blows me away to this day. But, I think people are going to be purchasing out of necessity and more the utility of a vehicle, and maybe they're going to hold off on some of those luxury features. And even still, there's going to be segments that are still going to need to purchase. But then on the flip side of that, here's the thing. One of the things that drives ad costs up, whether times are good or whether times are bad, is that your ad just really stinks. It's not relevant. It's too pushy. I use the example of, and Paul, you're fantastic at this, by the way. You build relationships like nobody I've ever seen before. The first time we met, you did not walk up to me and say, Michael, I need this, 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 and this from you. We built a relationship. We got to know each other. We became friends. We became comfortable with one another. And then we very naturally started to work together and do certain things together, in much the same way with David. Well, when times are good, it's harder for you to see whether or not your ads stink or not.
Yeah. Because
now,
yeah,
because it's a good market. I say to a lot of people, this chair right here, when times are good, this chair will sell 6 cars a month. Because there is a segment of consumer who will purchase a vehicle. They know what they want. They've helped themselves through the buying process. They've done their research. They just know that that's what they want. I am one of those customers. I am a complete laydown. So for anybody that's watching and you see that I'm in the buying process, you hit me up quickly, because I want that one in silver or whatever. And it's because I just, that's the way I am. So now, having said that, back to the advertising, this is highlighted. See, it's not just about competition. It's not just about keywords and bidding on keywords. It's about how relevant your message is to the needs or the wants or the desires of a particular segment. You can't just do one ad and hope that it covers everything. You have to speak to the needs. So here's something that I'm doing to build a brand. And I just want to piggyback off of what David's saying, because I think he's absolutely spot on with experience is the new brand. Okay. For those that are listen carefully on what I've been doing and what I've encouraged some of my clients to do on Facebook. You ready for this? Yeah. People are going to go, this is crazy. And I'm sorry, Paul, if your numbers start to drop. On Facebook, on Friday evening, I go live and I play a game with my audience where I sit at the piano and I play 5 seconds of whatever song comes to the top of my head. And I take contestants and they get to try and guess the song that I'm playing. And now dealers might be thinking, well, what in the world does that have to do with my business? And I want to tell you, it has everything to do with your business. Why? Because your consumer, your ideal audience is at home, isolated. They are bored to tears. They are looking for anything and anyone to help them. And if you are the individual, if Paul or if David or if Michael are the individual that bring them some relief right now, they are going to remember you more than any ad you run, any retargeting campaign you run, they're going to go, Michael was the one that created an experience tonight for me and my family when we didn't know, we're going crazy here. What are we going to do? And that was so much fun for 30 minutes. And guess what? I'm going to do it again next Friday. And I'm going to do it again the Friday after that. And I'm going to do it again the Friday after that. And you know how many people have messaged me in private and said, that was so peaceful. That was so fun. That was exciting. That gave us some relief. And guess what? Now we're, a month or so into this practice, and I have people coming to me saying, how can I implement this? Because we want to do stuff like this to build our brand. And that is the thing about building a brand is, what do you want people to remember you by? What do you want them to know you for? And for me personally, I want people to know that I bring relief. I bring optimism. I bring hope. And so it's a matter of aligning the needs or the wants or the desires of your market with who you are as a person, and they're going to remember you for that.
And David, about that topic, what Michael is mentioning about Facebook, it is another way to communicate to your customers. And that's the question also of Clem Pesh, our common friend of Michael and David as well. Do you think we can go back to the old ways, or what online strategies are need to embraced? What's your opinion about that one?
Yeah, and hello, Glenn. Hopefully you're in a healthy and safe spot. So we've got a lot of common ground that we cover. Here's what's interesting, Paul, is the short answer is, yeah, you can go back to your old ways. Unfortunately, you're going to have a limited spectrum or an audience to work with, and we've crossed a big canyon, if you will, to go from this environment where the consumer says, only comfortable, or the dealer says, I'm only comfortable having you come to my place. Yeah, we'll put a little window dressing on our website. We'll let people know, yeah, we'll bring it to your home. We've got, test drives at home and all that other, and that was pre-COVID. Now, during this environment, in the U.S., we've got 50 different states, so we've got 50 different lockdown approaches or quarantine approaches. And so we've had clients that have gone completely shut down. They couldn't operate their dealerships, couldn't sell retail, Pennsylvania, Michigan. And so you could interact with your guest online, and we saw customers starting to have a higher level of interest, and then followed by a higher level of engagement, and then fortunately a higher level of sales. And it depends on the brand. So Michael and y'all were just talking about some of the OEMs have come out with 0% up to 84 months, or delayed payments for 3 months, and then no payments for 3 months. So Ford Motor Company in particular.
So when there is no demand, you push demand.
Yeah, and so to a large degree, our Ford clients have done extremely well because the OEM has pushed it. On the other side, I was talking to a client of mine for luxury brands, and they're struggling. And so what we're finding is the consumers have kind of self-segmented. They've said, I'm a needs buyer. My lease is expiring. I want to do this. And the OEMs complied a little bit, and they said, we'll give you 30 days extension. And now we're at that precipice to where they're going to give us another 30 days, or are they going to say, do it? And the dealers on the other side for the lease extensions are sitting there going, what's their trade-in worth? And do I want it? Does the OEM want it? No. So both parties are playing a little hot potato with that. So that's the need buyer. The opportunity buyer is the one saying, show me what you got. I'll take 0%. I'll go 6 months without having to make a payment. I want to get out of my car anyway, so this looks like a great opportunity. And then there's the curiosity shopper. And those are the ones that we've got to be very mindful of, because we can frustrate them, and we can treat them like a lot of people treat customers who don't want to buy right away. And you and I were raised in an environment, Paul, to where if they don't buy within the first 24 hours, they're not really that interested, right? So, always be closing. Well, the truth is we should always be helping. And if we focus on, you're a needs buyer, you're an opportunity buyer, those are easy. We can go ahead and bring those along. But I would beg you all to pay attention to the curiosity shoppers. Those are the ones that Michael's really lighting up with this Friday night at the Cirillo household doing the piano thing. And I love that idea. I was talking with Rick Reichert the other day, Reichert Automotive, and they go around to households in pickup trucks and they play music. And it's really kind of cool what they're doing. And that has nothing to do with selling cars directly. They're not taking out order pads and bringing a caravan of cars. They're just building this relationship. And I think take care of the needs buyers, take care of the opportunists, and you're going to do really, really well. We've got some clients actually selling more cars than they sold previously because of the deals. And then really don't abandon these curiosity shoppers because they will be your future.
Yeah. And this is what Forrest also say in the comments. In Utah, they have the best month ever because Utah is Utah.
Yeah.
They're selling a lot of Suburbans and a lot of
Jeep Wranglers.
Vans. Yeah. Cube vans.
I had a question of Jeroen Brouwer, the head of automotive of eBay Marktplaats in Holland. Hi, David and Michael. Great to see you both. He knows you because we did the event on the NEDA. Can you tell us something about the trade-ins? Is this the right time for dealers to buy or not?
Wow. So if I'll take first crack at that and then we'll come back. I had a very interesting conversation with a friend of both of ours, or all of ours, Del Pollack. And Del is a noted industry authority on used cars, works with, he's VP with Cox Automotive and the founder of a company called V Auto here in the US. And so there is index called the Manheim Market Report and nicknamed MMR. Dealers rely very closely on that. And what's interesting is MMR becomes kind of a baseline for online retailing tools such as trade evaluations. And so we've got, the instant cash offer that is provided through Cox. We've got the trade pending tool. There's other tools out there in the marketplace, Edmunds, True Market Value, and so on and so forth. So the truth is dealers are in a position where they're saying, March 15th, let's just say that was the big blow up for pandemic awareness here in the United States. Dell asserts that your inventory, whether you want it to or not, dropped dramatically. And it is a fixed asset, and he's always taught on the terminology velocity. So we've got to turn our inventory quickly. Well, the market's not there, and people are going after new car deals. They're not necessarily going after used car deals. But when we did our interview, Dell said one of the things that he's coaching and encouraging is let your new car deal really be the tool to bring the used car in at the right value. And because we'll always have incentives to move new cars because the factories want to produce more of them, but we'll probably not have incentives on used cars unless a finance company or a bank comes out with something there. I talked to a dealer yesterday and he said, I appreciate that advice, but I'm not going to just wholesale give away my inventory. And I'm going to hold on to it for a while and I'm going to see what the market does. So he happens to be in Florida. And he's recommending to his team, let's take a pause, let's put deals together, but let's not just say our inventory's bad, even if it's good, because we're at such an uncertain time that he's not really sure. So what we're coaching our clients on is to be measured. Yes, weigh both sides of that equation. But ultimately, my dad gave me this advice. He goes, you can never put too much money in a good car, and you can never put too little money in a bad car. So if you've got good inventory, you should be able to sell out of it and even make a good profit with that. So I lean on the ideas of my dad, who's 90 years old, still studies the industry. And I think sometimes we've got to, you got to weigh the data and you got to weigh the experience and come someplace in the middle.
Yeah. Michael, about the same question of Michiel de Jong, you know him as well. He was how do I put it? the guy who we miss the most at Marktplaats, but he knows that. But yeah, another question about the same question. I called the dealer today to check if they will buy my car or trade in, always in maintenance, at this dealer as well. They did check the license plate because they know then the year and model, etc. But the answer was, we don't know if we trade in or buy due to Corona. We will call you back. He's still waiting. But what would be a good answer in this case from a dealer perspective if they actually don't know what the worth is, the value is?
If they don't know what the value is, I for me, I'm an opportunist, so I still want to have a conversation and I still want to build a relationship with that buyer or with that seller, customer. But the thing is, this is actually difficult because I know how I would do it, and I know that may not be the way that everyone does it. But I think a lot of people, when they meet me, they realize that I'm one of the most transparent people they'll ever meet. I tend to over communicate. And so I would just simply tell them the fact of the matter of what we're dealing with and what we have to consider and what they should also consider. And I echo what David's saying. My grandfather used to say that the least expensive thing you'll put into a vehicle is the gasoline. Right. And so, it really depends. I'm a data-driven individual, so I want to look at that, but I'm also an opportunist. And so I'm looking at the trends of when is the market going to start opening back up. If this is truly a good deal and I can work out, numbers on that vehicle and I think it's going to sell, or it's going to give me an opportunity to bring somebody else into the store or something like that, then I'm going to be looking at it that way. I'm not just going to shut down my entire operation, because I think that the messages that we convey to our audience today will tell them what our response will be as things start to open up. Here in Canada, each province works a little bit differently. But I know where I am in Alberta, they're starting their phased rollout of opening things back up, and truly dealerships didn't have to close 100% like they did in some other areas of the world. Here we were still able to operate just because of the scope of the pandemic. Here we're a little bit more spread out, a little bit more rural in nature. So I think it just depends on a variety of factors. Would it have been a good deal before, and does it look like it's a good deal now? What does the data suggest? When is the timeline for things starting to open up again? Because as people get back to work, I think we're going to see a surge in activity. People are going to still need vehicles to get back to work. And also, maybe this is a prediction and maybe it's just crazy, and I'd be okay with that.
We do have this on tape, Michael.
We do. Yeah, that's right. This is incriminating now. I think people have been inside for so long that you're going to see a surge in people just going anywhere they can go after this. People are going to be going on dates to dealerships after this because they're just going to want to be anywhere outside of the house. And so, I really would weigh it out. And I think, David's advice there is spot on. You need to balance out the data and the demand of the market and the unit itself, but it is going to be kind of a one-on-one. Ultimately, you need to be communicating as effectively as you possibly can. And if you don't know something, see, this is a challenge I have. Everybody tries to be very invincible. And in the pursuit of invincibility, we stop communicating to the degree that people ought to be communicated with. And so if I don't know something, even on this call, if I don't have an opinion on something, you're going to see me go like this. I don't know.
I don't know.
But I would love to work with you to find out the answer. Are you okay with that? Yeah, let's find the answer together. In that research process together, I think I'm going to build a relationship with you where it's going to go beyond the transaction, and I'm going to build a real friendship.
Hey, and David, about that same question, is because that same answer I hear all the time in the cold rep system, that the dealer has the price of the car still the same, the used car, right? He wants to sell the used car from his lot. In the same conversation, he wants to prove the value of the car. He is saying to the consumer, I don't want to trade in your car because I don't know what it's worth because the Corona is dipping. It should be a pitch which they have to think about it. How can I prove the value still, and that I can do, because you cannot and cut your expenses in a way you are going to be profitable. You have to sell something.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you bring it up that way, because the truth of the matter is, whenever any of us took a car to the auction, it was the day that cars, if we needed to sell, it was the day that cars weren't bringing much money. But the day we had to go to the auction to buy cars, oh my God, cars are so expensive, I can't afford to buy anything. So you can't really have your cake and eat it too in a transparent environment. If I'm the consumer and you're telling me that I'm going to use an online evaluation tool, and oh, by the way, I've priced my vehicles to market, you still have to work off of that gap. And you can't now all of a sudden hold yours at the previous value and tell them that their vehicle is now worth less because of the COVID environment. I think what we've got to do, and this is, I think, really sound advice, I would sell out of my inventory closer to what its perceived value is if I could see daylight. And we hear that all the time in automotive is, if you can see daylight, let's go ahead and make the deal, particularly in stress times. You know, if we're in the beginning of the month and we've got 28, 25, 23 days to make up for selling a few cars inexpensively, let's go ahead and move some metal, or let's hold a little bit. It depends on the philosophy of the store. I know at our dealership over the years, we were always early in the month, we would hold a little profit. And then maybe towards the 25th or 26th, we'd start, hey, let's, you know, that car, it was hot on the 10th, but we're getting rid of it on the 28th. And I think, you know, the reality is that's kind of where we are with today's environment, is we've got all this data, but we're also experienced professionals, and we've got to meet that consumer. We can't just sit here and wave at them and say, hope you're being safe. We've got to get down with them, and this will play well to any U.S. people, but we used to call it the Ben Franklin close. Sometimes you got to do a couple of columns and say, you know, what are the pros and what are the cons? And ultimately, when you are transparent with the customer and sit, you know, 6 feet away, obviously, or in this environment, we're right next to each other. But if you sit with them and weigh and measure together, they start having these epiphany moments. First epiphany moment is they're like, holy crap, this is a car salesperson. How lucky did I get that I've got somebody who really cares about me? And secondly, somebody who's willing to sit there and do what's best for my family and think that way. I think that's where the real results are going to come from, is when we are able to rationalize, merge that data with what their needs are. And let's also be realistic. What do customers need for their trade-in ultimately? What they owe on it. And we can sit here and say, here's the market value, and they're going to say, my bank doesn't care. My bank says, I got to write them a check for this. Let's make this thing pay out.
And about a marketing perspective, Michael and David, I see a lot of templates, email templates going out, marketing, but also on sales, which are not accustomed to the current situation. How can you make people comfortable to coming to your dealership? Because I'm 100% on your point, Michael, because you want to go outside. It doesn't matter where, and the dealership is a fun place to go. Maybe not in America where it takes 8 hours to.
Jab.
Yeah. But I see a lot of mistakes happen in the templates that they are pre-Corona time and are not sensible enough on the marketing perspective, but also on the sales perspective.
Yeah. Well, this is, I think we go right back to the beginning statement, which is we need to focus on what matters most. And this time, what we're all experiencing, we're all in this together. We are realizing quickly what matters most. For me, my opinion on this is what matters most to my organization are my people. then my process for those people, like nobody's going to follow a process if they're not bought in, if there's no culture. And so that matters most. Now, why does that matter most? Because it's my people that are bought in, who believe in the organization, who believe in the mission, that are going to take the time to go, wait, we need to update our email templates because they no longer work. And I want to take the time to do that. I might have to work all weekend. You ready for this? Maybe I was furloughed. Yeah. Maybe I was temporarily laid off. I'm going to tell you something right now. I've been furloughed and I've been temporarily laid off, but I'm up here. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm doing whatever I can. I'm on the phone with people. I'm doing everything to continue the flow coming to me. And I think just so many people have given up. And so, yes, if you have not updated your email templates, you need to get in there. Now, on the flip side of the coin, if you're working a skeleton crew, this is also a very tremendous opportunity, because there are managers who have not worked customer relationships in a long time. And now all of a sudden they are back into the trenches and they're answering the phones and they're working whatever deals are coming in and they're doing the negotiating and they're doing they're penciling the deal and they're taking the complaints and they're doing all of these sorts of things. And I think that's really positive for them. It reminds me of that show. I don't know if you guys had this show, Undercover Boss.
Yeah.
Right. So this has kind of provided an undercover boss experience for a lot of people, because they're now realizing maybe some of the things that their frontline employees are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so it's, I believe, incumbent upon these organizations to sit down and say, okay, this is broken. We need to fix that. We need to triage this. We need to also think about what the new normal is looking like as we come out of this, and will this process work? You know, Glenn asked, can we go back to our old ways? Well, there's nothing about human nature that thrives going back, right? We are built to go forward. When we are born, we don't go further into the mother's womb. We go forward out of it. Like that's what we do. We move forward. And we have to really look at all of the different things are on the go. Yeah, you're not going to get very far if you're lazy and you don't update your email templates. It's not going to be fun, but it's one of those things that I believe you must do. Your phone process is going to have to change. As an organization, you should be sitting down, right after we hop off this call, I'm into my morning meeting with my team where we are discussing the things that matter most for our organization. How do we respond? What will we say? What are we going to do? How do we serve? How do we serve even more? How do we give more? So that everybody in my organization is on the same page. If you haven't done that in your dealership during these times, then you're missing a really massive opportunity, because guess what, guys? Things are going to open up. Things are going to open up. COVID will become a thing of the past. We are going to move into a new era of how business is done. This is highlighted that service first really is an important factor of business. We've gone from super transactional to, hey, we got to put a little bit more up front. We need to serve a little bit more up front. We need to provide value a little bit more up front. We need to build relationships a little bit more up front. And once we wrap our head around that, then we can adjust our processes to match what we believe.
Mm-hmm. And David, because you were writing a crisis mitigation guide where you talk about those email templates, to change that, and you Google My Business pages as well to be very actual on the COVID crisis. But if you talk about lead handling and templates, is it still relevant 2020 to follow up leads with an email, in the perspective that the email is in the same place as the fax machine?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So let's look at the statistics, and I'll just put an exclamation point on what you were saying earlier, and then I want to cover the statistics. Think of your message on your website. Think of when I fill out a form, the first template, if you will, is that message after I fill out the form. And
Thank you. Thank you page.
I'm sorry?
The thank you page or the email?
Yeah, there you go, the thank you page. So that thank you page is still tone deaf in most organizations. We need to let them know here's what the new situation is, and we can do at-home test drives, we can do curbside delivery, we can pick up and deliver your service vehicle, whatever the situation is. We need to make sure that our website, our Google My Business page is all set up specifically to do that, and our emails and our scripting and so on and so forth, just to put that exclamation point behind what Michael was saying earlier. But let's talk about email. I love email. Email is great. I can send Paul an email and say, he'll open it on Monday. This is great. That'll buy me 2 or 3 days. Wonderful. And here's the reality. We used to say just a few weeks ago, emails from businesses to consumers get opened at around 24%. Well, I read a study the other day, and it's actually from automotive to consumers, 17%. 83% of the time, they don't even open the email. So we've been training for years. The subject line gets the email opened. The first sentence gets the email read. So we got to concentrate on making that subject line matter to the consumer. So I'll give you this tip. Putting their first name in the subject line escalates it up considerably. And I've noticed that with great retailers, they tend to use and pay attention to my behaviors. So that subject line better not be "thanks for your inquiry" or "thanks for your request" or whatever. It's got to be Paul, Michael, thanks for asking about the price for
the first name of the consumer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, first email out. And subsequent emails. So let's just say that bumps us up to where maybe 25% get opened. You still have to get them to the telephone call. So you and I love the call drip product. We love the call drip concept, which is immediacy. So when the lead comes in, there's over a 300% better engagement rate if we can call the customer within 2 minutes. It's still in the high 100s if we're able to call within 5 minutes. If we're more than 20 minutes, we might as well wait the next day. So what we're finding is a lot of people are afraid of the rejection that comes from that first phone call. Well, we're in the rejection business. We're optimists. We believe we're going to persist even if we get knocked back. So the first rejection could be they don't answer, so I'm going to leave a great voicemail. Or they could say, no, I'm busy. Well, I'm going to give them what they're asking for by getting on the phone with them quicker. And I call a quick phone call exceptional service. I don't look at it as an intrusion. They filled out a form. They didn't email my dealership. They filled out a form. And on that form, they gave me a phone number. They gave me an email address. Maybe they said it's okay to text. Well, texting's great. And I love texting. 98% open rate, 85% within the first 5 minutes. But then I get texting back and forth, and then they stop. And I'm done. So I want to move everything to the phone call as much as possible and sell the value of let's jump on the phone. So in today's environment, maybe I can't get them to the phone, so I'll send them a screen share. I'll send them a Zoom meeting link. I'll send them a join.me link. I'll do something that affords that opportunity. Maybe I'll do LinkedIn Live with them. I don't know. But no matter what, I'm going to try to persist to have engagement. And I think that's really what has to work.
You have to ask LinkedIn 4 times at least.
I don't know, maybe 5, 6. I'm not saying, can I just add to what David's saying? I think it's important no matter what that you look at the segment's behavior. And I think that's a huge takeaway for me as David's talking. If 17% are opening or interacting with an email, I want to pay attention to who those 17% are, because the way I deal with them is going to be much different than the ones that don't open or respond in any way. The same thing with my ads. If I have a blanket ad and I treat all of the engagement from the ads the exact same way, then I'm losing a huge opportunity to analyze the effectiveness of my marketing, of my messaging, to say, hey, well, 5% responded. I need to deal with that 5% in a certain way or move them to engagement, as David's saying, in a certain way. But then there's this 95% who didn't engage at all, or maybe they engaged in a different way. They came to my website, they stayed there for a minute, and then they left. Well, I need to say, hey, what does this tell me about my audience? Because they are still all of your audience.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in automotive, in many industries, in fact, we try as much as we can to take a one size fits all approach. But you have to look at these numbers and say, wait, 17% is still 17%. 85% is still 85%. And what can I learn about them? Who are they?
Mm-hmm.
85% did not respond or did not pick up the phone or did not. What can I do? Not how can I now market? What can I do to meet this 85%? Maybe they're more, maybe they are texters, or maybe they are LinkedIn livers or things of that nature. But instead of giving up, which is what we tend to do, we need to really look at all of that data and say, who are these people? How can I meet them? Maybe they are into the Peugeot whatever 300 or whatever the models. Oh no, I put myself on the spot. What am I doing? Maybe they are meant for that vehicle, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're meant for a particular type of VIP service that you offer. Maybe they're not. And so instead of just saying, oh, well, nobody responded to our VIP service offer, we need to look at, okay, well, then what else do we have that we could maybe put in front of those that didn't respond in a meaningful way to see what kind of engagement we get from them.
But Michael, that is that's so important what you're saying now, because and it's not a Peugeot 300, of course, but we have also not a pickup truck here as well.
I took a shot in the dark.
No, but to be responsible, you have to be responsible. If you don't have an answer from the consumer, it is your fault. You have to find a way to have a dialogue with the consumer. And it's so easy to say, hey, the consumer is not interested, is not really interested. He doesn't respond to my email, so get over it. Huh? And you have to find the ways to communicate, because without a dialogue, you cannot make an appointment. What kind of appointment? I don't care. It can be a Zoom meeting. It can be a meeting, and meeting in person on a 9 feet distance in the showroom, or 1.5 meters we have here. Voor degenen die meekijken, als je nog vragen hebt, stel ze alsjeblieft, want we gaan zo meteen afsluiten met Michael en met David. Dus heb je nog vragen, heb je nog opmerkingen, laat het vooral weten. David, if you have to close now, what can you and give our Dutch and Belgium and German viewers to give in this interesting times?
Yeah, so I think it's time to reacquaint ourselves with the language that works. We look at the Gallup organization poll every year that says rank, let's see, the jobs or the professions on ethics. And automotive in the U.S., once again, for 2019, car salespeople were rated at the very bottom, below government, members of Congress, and senators. So that's not a good place to be in. Not coincidentally, and we're seeing it really happen in this environment, nurses, doctors, pharmacists are up at the top, professions ranked on ethics. I think we've got to move into a more ethical environment. We've got to be more honest, and we've got to be more transparent. And this is that opportunity. So there's a great book written by Phil Jones called Exactly What to Say. And it is a book that we're using to rewrite our scripting, our email templates, to where we use this to inspire people to engage at a higher level, to build levels of trust, to help them arrive at a decision that's best for them. So I cringe when I hear old car salesperson language. We're seeing great salespeople really come of age through this technical boosting that we're seeing through this separation environment. And I think if I could give that gift, I would say, rewrite your language, be more consumer perceptive, and make sure that we focus on doing what's right by them, because if they win, we certainly will as well.
Is that also the case, David? Because I have a question of Bulo. Is this the moment where we are going to go on scale to online selling of cars when it is legal with a wet signature, whatever the case will be?
Yeah, I think we're so there, and it just really kind of pushes to that envelope. Surprisingly, odometer statements still require wet signatures in so many areas, and the contracts and stuff. I think we got to blow through that, because we're finding that so long as you're doing good checks of identification, and we're able to appease the risk of fraud, I think is a foregone conclusion that we're going to blow through that last barrier, and we're going to move to the digital signature environment. So I think that's what the future will hold, and it will make it way
only a legal thing, right? Is that legal thing not in place in Canada or in Holland? Because here you can do a digital signature, then we don't have a barrier whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to mimic in the US, because till we get to that point, it's still going to be inconvenient. And now at our dealership, we have to set it on a table, let the customer come pick up the contract, go to their car, sign the agreement. I mean, it's nonsense.
Yeah. Michael, last thoughts.
So about the digital retailing thing, I've had 2 recent vehicle purchase experiences in the last year. My beloved F-150, which is, I mean, just if you have an opportunity to drive an F-150, man, I tell you what, that was all done online. Now, of course, I purchased from a client of mine out of province. So in Saskatchewan, I'm in Alberta. And so, you know what, 99.9% of that transaction was all done over email, and even the finance application went right to Ford Credit Canada, 90 seconds approval, all these sorts of things. I got to pick the plan that worked best for me. So I've experienced as close to a fully digital experience. And for me, and I mean, I'm a big tech guy, it was delightful, right? Somebody, they had employed, some of these semi-retired individuals who drove the vehicle out to me 4 hours away, brought it into my driveway, knocked on my door, said, I need you to sign here, here, and here. I did that. They dumped the keys out of their manila envelope and said, enjoy your truck. And they left. And that was incredible experience. I also had another experience where my wife and I purchased the family vehicle, the SUV. And we did it with a local dealership, and that required 4 return visits to the dealership. That required meeting the sales rep who I told my life story to about what I was looking for. And then I had to meet the sales manager who I had to recount that same story to, because the salesperson didn't put my details into the. So if we had this, by the way, I tell everybody I am a laydown. I told the sales rep, hey, it's January 28th. Let's get this deal on the books before the end of the month. I am a laydown. I want the 7-seater in steel graphite. Oh, great. How soon are you looking to buy this? If you have one today, I'm driving it home. Well, none of that information gets passed to the sales manager. The sales manager says, well, suppose we could get everything worked out. How soon are you looking? If you have one today, I am driving it home, right? It's this kind of a thing.
But Michael, I know when I was with David, our first meeting in Belgium, I think it was, and he was talking about a manager takeover or TO or whatever the case, and everybody's saying, "What?"
That's right. What's happening? And then I had to tell my whole life story again to the business manager. Hey, how soon are you looking at? If you have this thing, I am driving it home. Well, that didn't happen. I waited 18 days with minimal communication. In fact, I had to initiate all the follow-ups. Am I going to get my vehicle in this lifetime? It was that sort of a thing. So I've experienced both. And I think, to David's point about the Gallup poll, we're seeing, we see very similar things, and it's shocking to me that in the United States, car sales professionals are regarded lower than government officials, because it's just wacky and very zany, everything that's going on in politics. But I think it's because of this. When you get down to grassroots, down where the rubber meets the road, nobody wants to go through such a hassle of an experience. And so that is a very good push forward into the digital retailing model. Now we're going to have to pass through a bunch of government regulation and getting that to be legalized and all of those sorts of things. And who knows whose agenda is going to be where. But I think, we are moving in that direction faster than we think. Having said that, I guess the big thing for me is this is your opportunity. If you're wondering what opportunity to evolve looks like, it's just been given to all of us on a silver platter. And if you are an individual who, and this is going to sound really crazy because we're talking business, if all you care about is money, you have lost your competitive edge. You have lost the opportunity that's been given to you. If you can't reconcile, how does service equate to business? How does giving value, how does building relationship equate to business? You're missing that huge opportunity to be the difference, and the difference that our industry globally so desperately needs.
Michael, I have a complaint for you.
Oh dear.
From Bruno, the sales manager from Belgium.
Yeah.
He is saying, and that's of course the truth.
Yeah.
Are there still car sales guys who don't know Michael Cirillo?
I think obscurity is always going to be our challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. I have also a very good comment of Jurian Vinkens. He is saying, just like in former days, we used postcards in the past and we switched to digital in the last 15 years. Nowadays, a postcard is unique again. Can we expect the same in 10 years regarding customer visiting the showroom again, after the online sales exercise is over?
Yeah, I think what's interesting, I love that comment. I think one of the things that you and I've talked about, Paul, is everybody's looking for that magic approach. There is no magic approach. There are a bunch of little approaches that build to a magic overall. But what we've got to recognize is nowadays consumers have to have their own way to do business. They can do it online. They can do a hybrid. They can do a visit to the dealership at some point in the future. And I think the massive amount of retailers are going to work towards that kind of hybrid where you can do really whatever you want. And I think that's what the future will end. And giving a great experience, no matter what the platform is really key.
Michael, David, it's 1 hour. I thought we can do it 30 minutes. But I want to thank you again personally to give your time for us, for the Dutch, Belgium, and German automotive community, to help us to have new ideas, new things to think about in this environment, to be successful and to make our mission, the online automotive, better, a real purpose. So thank you for that. En voor u allemaal, dank jullie wel voor het kijken. Ik vond het ontzettend leuk om het nogmaals te doen. Als jullie mensen hebben, gasten hebben, sprekers hebben waarvan je zegt van nodig die eens een keer uit, dan doen we dat ontzettend graag. Volgende week een keertje. Dan het liefst niet om 4 uur, want dan kijken we liever naar Bart en Lubetto uiteraard van Automotive Magazine. So David, Michael, have a great weekend. Stay healthy, and I see you back very soon in one way or the other.
Thank you very much, Paul. Good to see you, Michael.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks. Great to see you guys. Thanks.
Zo, dat was hem. Dank jullie wel. Ik hoop dat het zinvol was. Ik hoop dat het waardevol was. Zijn er nog vragen? Zijn er nog opmerkingen? Dan zie ik dat uiteraard graag tegemoet. paul@dgdw.nl of bel me 0655 841 398. Een heel goed weekend gewenst voor degenen die er al aan toe zijn. Een goed zaterdag, sales zaterdag gewenst voor degenen die morgen nog aan de gang moeten. En blijf natuurlijk gezond. En vind je het leuk? Vond je het interessant genoeg? Like de stream. Deel de stream actief, zodat je mij kan helpen om die online automotive beter te maken. Dank jullie wel.